In this video, we're going to deal with one of the biggest struggles people face. Why don't my prayers seem to work? You pray, but you still doubt. You ask, but you still worry. You hope, but you don't trust. Today, I'm going to break it down Steve Harvey style, real talk, no sugarcoating, so you can finally understand that your breakthrough is already in motion. Listen to me real close, because somebody needs this today. You've been praying, you've been crying, you've been asking God over and over again, Lord, do you hear me? Lord, when will you answer? And you think heaven is silent, but I came to tell you something. God heard you the very first time. Your prayers are already answered. The problem ain't that God didn't respond. The problem is you don't believe it yet. You know what I've learned about God, man? He doesn't need you to beg. He doesn't need you to cry out 10,000 times before he even notices you. God ain't sitting up there like some customer service operator with 1 million calls on hold, flipping through the line saying, oh, I missed your call. Let me get back to you in 3 to 5 business days. No. The very first time you opened your mouth and said, Lord, I need you. Heaven already took note of it. The very first time you whispered that prayer in the dark when nobody else knew what you were going through, he heard you. And I need somebody listening right now to understand this. You are not unheard, you are not unseen, and you are not ignored. See, the problem we run into is this: we mistake silence for absence. Just because God didn't text you back in 5 seconds doesn't mean he didn't read the message. You know how when you text somebody and you see those little dots typing, but the reply ain't come yet? That's how God works sometimes. You can't see it, but he's typing. He's working it out behind the scenes. You prayed for a job, he heard you. You prayed for healing, he heard you. You prayed for peace in your mind, a partner that loves you, a door to open, he heard you the first time. But see, our problem is we want Amazon Prime prayers. We want to order it today and have it delivered tomorrow by 8 p.m. And when that doesn't happen, we start doubt, start panicking, start thinking maybe God didn't care. But let me tell you something, delay ain't denial. Sometimes the silence is the setup. Sometimes God heard you so fast, he's already moving the pieces. But if he gave it to you right now, you would asking for $1 million and you can't manage 100. You ask for a husband or wife and you ain't even healed from your last heartbreak. You are asking for a stage when you are still scared to speak up in a room. God ain't ignoring you. He's protecting you from yourself until you're ready. Don't be ready for it. Some of y'all praying for things your character can't even handle yet. Let me tell you a story from my own life. I remember praying, asking God for a TV show. I said, Lord, I just want to be on television, man. Give me that big break. And I thought, well, shoot, I prayed today. Maybe by next week I'll be on NBC. Didn't work that way. It was years before Family Feud came into my life. Yeah, but let me tell you what happened in those years. I got sharpened. I got tested. I had to fail, had to struggle, had to sleep in my car, had to get rejected, and had to bum on stage. Why? Because if God had answered my prayer instantly, I would have messed it up instantly. But when he finally opened that door, I was ready to walk through it and hold it open. That's why I'm telling you, don't confuse God's timing with God's silence. The answer to your prayer is not pending. It's already logged. God heard you the first time. The moment you cried out in that hospital bed, the moment you sat in that car broken, frustrated, the moment you sat at your kitchen table not knowing how you were going to pay rent, he heard you. It's just that sometimes the blessing needs the right season to bloom. You don't plant a seed today and eat fruit tomorrow. But just because you don't see anything happening on the surface doesn't mean the roots ain't growing underground. Here's another thing. Stop repeating prayers like God got bad hearing. Some of y'all keep asking the same thing over and over, like he didn't catch it the first time. God ain't deaf. When you keep repeating it, it ain't faith talking, it's fear talking. Faith says, I asked and I believe. Fear says, maybe he didn't hear me. Let me ask again. No, baby. Trust that it's already in motion. That's why Steve Harvey doesn't beg God. I thank him. I say, Lord, I know you heard me, and I'm just waiting for your timing. Think about it. How many times in your life did you pray for something, and later on it came true, and you looked back and said, man, if that would have come sooner, I wouldn't have been ready. That right there is proof that God heard you the first time. He ain't a genie in a bottle, but he is a father who listens. And the fact that you woke up today breathing, watching this right now, that's proof your prayer is still alive. Now, let me tell you this, prayer by itself is powerful, but prayer without faith, that's just words in the air. It's like sending a letter with no address written on the envelope. It doesn't matter how beautiful that letter is. It doesn't matter how much effort you put into writing it. If there's no address, it ain't going nowhere. Same thing with prayer. You can pray, but if you don't attach faith to it, if you don't believe that God can and will do what he promised, then you're just speaking words that never land. See, faith is the bridge, man. It's the connection. Think about this. You're on one side of a canyon and your blessing is on the other side. You're standing there saying, Lord, I want that breakthrough. Lord, I want that opportunity. Lord, I want that healing. And God is saying, cool, I got you. It's already there. But the only way to get across to it is through faith. Prayer is what makes you call out, but faith is what carries you across the gap. Without faith, you're just standing on the edge looking at what you could have, never stepping out to claim it. A lot of people pray, but they don't expect anything. They say, Lord, help me get this job, but then they don't even fix their RA, SUME. They say, Lord, bless me with a business, but then they are too scared to take the first step. That ain't faith. That's just wishful thinking. Faith is not just asking, it's preparing. When I prayed for God to open doors in comedy, I didn't just sit back on the couch waiting for a producer to knock. I kept performing even when I bombed. I kept writing new jokes and kept sharpening my gift. That's faith, acting like what you asked for is already on the way. Have you ever seen somebody order food at a restaurant? When they put in that order, they don't sit there worrying if the chef heard them. They don't keep calling the waiter back saying, are you sure you told the kitchen? Did the cook hear me? Are you sure he's going to make it? No, they place the order and then they sit back with the knife and fork ready, expecting that food to come. That's how faith works. You prayed, so stop worrying, stop pacing the floor. Stop asking over and over. Get your knife and fork ready because your blessing is being cooked up right now. The Bible says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, which means faith is proof before the proof shows up. You don't wait to see it to believe it. You believe it so you can see it. Some of y'all got it backwards. You keep saying, when I see it, I'll believe it. No, God says, when you believe it, then you'll see it. That's why faith is so important. It's the bridge. It's the connection. Without it, you're stuck. I remember when I was living in my car, that was a low point, man, broke, hungry, nothing going the way I thought it should. And every night I prayed, Lord, get me out of this, make a way. But you know what? I didn't just sit there waiting for a miracle to drop in my lap. I still showed up to every gig I could get. I still drove to auditions. I still worked on my craft. That was my faith. I didn't know how God was going to do it, but I believed he would. And guess what? One opportunity led to another. And years later, I ended up hosting on TV. That's the power of faith. It takes what you prayed for and gives you the courage to keep walking until you see it. Now, some people say, but Steve, I prayed and nothing happened. My answer to that is, did you actually believe? Did you actually act like it was coming? Or did you pray and then immediately start talking about doubt? Because let me tell you something, doubt is a bridge destroyer. Faith builds the bridge, but doubt blows holes in it every time you pray and then say, well, it's probably not going to happen for me. You just tore down what you were building. That's why your blessing feels delayed, because you keep sabotaging your own bridge. Faith means you trust God even when it doesn't make sense. Faith means you thank him before the blessing shows up. Faith means you stop worrying about how it's going to happen and just keep walking. You don't need to know the route when God is the driver. You just need to get in the car and buckle up. Let me put it this way, prayer is like dialing God's number. Faith is staying on the line long enough to hear his answer. Too many of y'all hang up too early. You pray and then you disconnect before God can even respond. But if you hold on, if you believe, if you trust, then the bridge will carry you from where you are to where you're supposed to be. Now let me hit you with something real. Some of y'all don't even realize this, but you are out here canceling your own prayer. Yeah, you heard me. You get down on your knees. You call on God. You pour out your heart, and then the very next minute, the very next hour, you start speaking doubt, speaking fear, speaking negativity, and just like that, you cancel the very thing you asked for. You sabotage your own blessing, and you sit around wondering why it didn't show up, why nothing's changing, why you're still stuck. But baby, it ain't that God didn't hear you. It's that you canceled the order yourself. It's like this. Imagine you go online shopping. You see something you love. You click to cart. You check out. You put in your credit card details, and boom, the order is placed. But then you get nervous. You start second guessing. Maybe I shouldn't spend this money. Maybe it's not going to come. Maybe it's a scam. So you go right back into your account and you hit cancel order. Well, guess what? That package ain't coming anymore. Not because the company didn't send it, but because you canceled it yourself. That's what some of you are doing with your prayers. You ask God, then you turn around and cancel it with your mouth. Let me give you an example. You pray, Lord, please bless me with a better job. And the next day somebody asks you how things are going and you say, man, I'll never get out of this mess. I don't have the qualifications. Nobody's hiring me. Boom, you just canceled the prayer. Or you pray, Lord, please send me the right person to love me. But then you start saying, all men are dogs, or there ain't no good women left out here. Boom, you canceled it. You prayed for healing, but then you walked around saying, I'll probably always be sick. This runs in my family. Cancel. See, what you speak has power. The Bible says life and death are in the power of the tongue. That means you can pray for life, but then speak of death right after it, and that contradiction cancels it out. God responds to faith, but he can't move through your fear and negativity. Some of y'all praying with your lips, but doubting with your heart. And when your words don't line up with your prayers, you block your own blessing. Let me tell you from my own life, when I was first starting out in comedy, I was broke. I didn't have a dime. I was sleeping in my car. I would pray, Lord, help me make it. Open the doors. Let me live my dream. But you know what I did after that? I didn't go around telling people, I guess I'll be broke forever. I didn't go around saying, ain't nobody going to discover me. No, I walked like it was already done. I talked like it was already mine. Even when I was hungry, even when I didn't have gas money, I kept saying, one day I'm going to be on TV. One day I'm going to make it big. That wasn't arrogance. That was me refusing to cancel my prayer. That was me lining up my words with what I asked God for. And let me be honest with you, I've seen the opposite happen too. I've seen people pray for something and then every word out of their mouth kills it. They say they want success, but then they keep saying nothing good ever happens for me. They say they want love, but then they walk around bitterly saying people always leave me. That ain't faith, that's self-sabotage. It's like planting seeds in the ground and then going out there every day with a shovel, digging them back up. How's it ever going to grow if you keep undoing the planting? You got to stop canceling your own prayers with your mouth. If you pray for it, protect it. If you ask God for it, start speaking like it's on the way. You got to train yourself. The minute that doubt tries to come up, shut it down and replace it with faith words. Instead of saying, I'll never get out of debt, you start saying, God is making a way for me financially. Instead of saying, I'll always be lonely, you say, the right person is already being prepared for me. Instead of saying, I'll always be sick, you say, healing is already mine. That's how you keep your prayer alive, by lining your words up with what you believe. And don't get it twisted. This ain't about positive thinking alone. This is about spiritual alignment. This is about realizing that when you pray, you can't turn around and talk against the very thing you asked for. You got to stand firm even when you don't see it yet. You got to be consistent in what you speak, because every word is either building or tearing down the bridge between you and your blessing. So I'm hitting cancel. Stop sabotaging yourself. You prayed for it. Now act like it's already done. Walk in it. Talk about it. Believe it. Protect it. Because the only thing standing between you and your answered prayer might just be the words coming out of your own mouth. Let me tell you something that might shock you. Sometimes God's yes doesn't look like the yes you pictured in your head. You prayed for something specific. You had it all mapped out. You even had the color of the blessing picked out. And then when the answer came, it didn't look anything like what you imagined. And right there, that's where most people mess up. They miss the blessing because they don't recognize it. They threw it back because it didn't come in the wrapping they wanted. But let me tell you, just it doesn't look like your expectation doesn't mean it ain't your answered prayer. See, we live in a microwave world. Everybody got these crystal clear pictures in their minds. You say, Lord, I want to be successful. And in your head, that means a corner office, $1 million, a big car with leather seats. But when God answers that prayer, he doesn't always start with the mansion. Sometimes he answers with an opportunity to work overtime or a small side hustle or a job you didn't even want. And you look at it like, this ain't success. This ain't what I prayed for. But God is saying, this is the seed that leads to the success you asked for. I remember when I was broke, man, sleeping in my car. I was praying, Lord, bless me with a big break in comedy, put me on the map. And I had it all figured out in my mind. I thought some Hollywood producer was going to walk up to me in a club one night, discover me, and boom, I'd be famous. But that's not how it went down. You know what happened? Somebody called me to do a little gig in a small club in Florida. Hardly anybody was there. It didn't look like a blessing to me at first. But I went, and that little show led to another opportunity, which led to another, which eventually put me on TV. That gig was the answer to my prayer, but it didn't look like what I expected when it first showed up. If I had said no, if I had turned it down because it didn't look big enough, I would have missed my path to the very thing I prayed for. That's how God works. He'll answer your prayer in a way that grows you. He'll give you what you need, not always what you ask for word. Some of y'all praying for patience, and then you wonder why everything in your life starts slowing down. You pray for strength, and then you wonder why you are facing battles that test you. You pray for wisdom, and then you wonder why you are going through situations that require you to think differently. That's God answering your prayer, just not in the package you pictured. It's like this. Imagine a kid asking his daddy for candy. The kid says, Daddy, I want something sweet. Now the daddy loves the child, so instead of candy, he gives him fruit. It's sweet, it's good, it's healthy, but the kid might be upset because it ain't the lollipop he imagined. Did the daddy ignore the request? No, he answered it in a way that was better for the child. That's what God does with us. You asked for something, he gave you the version that's actually good for you, even if it doesn't match your little fantasy picture. So stop rejecting your blessing just because it's dressed differently. Stop getting mad at God just because his yes doesn't look like your eyes. You don't see the whole picture, but he does. You are thinking small, but God is thinking generationally. You are asking for a job. He's trying to build you a business. You are asking for one good break. He's setting you up for a lifetime of opportunities, but you won't see it if you only look for what's in your imagination. That's why faith is so important. Faith is what lets you say, God, I trust you even when it doesn't look like I thought it would. Faith is what makes you hold on when the answer looks confusing. Faith is saying, Lord, I asked for a door and you gave me a hallway, but I'm going to keep walking because I know the door is at the end of this hall. That's the key. I'll tell you another story. I prayed for God to bless me financially. I had bills piled up. I was desperate. I thought the blessing was going to come as some big check in the mail. You know what happened instead? A friend called me about a gig hosting a little radio show. It wasn't big money, but it was steady money. That radio show led to people knowing my name, which later led to television opportunities, which turned into everything I got now. That radio gig didn't look like the answered prayer I was picturing, but it was exactly the step I needed. So hear me. You've been praying, you've been asking, and the answer might already be sitting in your lap. Don't throw it away because it doesn't sparkle yet. Don't dismiss it because it looks too small, too ordinary, too unexpected. God's answers don't always look like what you expected, but they are always exactly what you needed. Let me leave you with this right here. Your prayers are already answered. Not maybe, not someday, not if you're lucky. No, they already answered. God has signed the check. He is just waiting for you to cash it with faith. That's the truth. See, the problem is we get impatient. We think God is moving too slow, but he doesn't move on your clock. He moves on his. His timing is perfect, even when it feels late to you. And when you finally get that blessing, you'll look back and realize, man, if I got it earlier, I wouldn't have been ready. If I got it my way, I would have messed it up. And don't you ever forget, sometimes the answer is already in motion. You just can't see it yet. While you are stressing, while you worry, God is behind the scenes, pulling strings, lining people up, shifting doors open. You think nothing is happening, but everything is happening. Now, here's the big one. Don't miss your blessing because it doesn't look like what you pictured. God's answers don't always wear the clothes you expected. They might come disguised as a job you didn't want, a setback that builds your strength, or a little opportunity that doesn't look like much. But if you trust him, if you hold on to faith, you'll see that small seed grow into the big tree you prayed for. So stop doubting, stop complaining, stop thinking you've been ignored. You ain't been ignored, you've been answered. God already heard you the first time you cried out, and he's not finished with you yet. Your job is to trust, to walk, and to believe, because when you do, your answer is going to show up so clearly you'll have no choice but to say, only God could have done this.